Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Listen and grow as Del questions the status quo, encourages you to think differently, and empowers you to make a better life. Get ready as Del challenges core beliefs, seeks the truth, and reveals the roadmap to the lifestyle you really want. And now your host, multi-millionaire, national award-winning investor, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Today, my friends, I want to first start by covering the fact that Lifestyles Unlimited is in all 50 states. We have members in all 50 states. But we buy real estate in those states where it makes sense. There are areas of this country where it just doesn't make sense to buy rental real estate. Mostly blue, very, very blue states like California and New York just don't make any sense. The landlord-tenant laws are really skewed against the landlord, and the prices are way too high that you can't really rent them at a price that is what we call the best product, best price type housing pricing, which means people can afford to live in our housing. And with that known, we had to figure out how to grow Lifestyles because we started as a Texas company. We've got a couple offices in Texas here, 3 of them actually, in Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. But we very quickly realized that we can't go put offices everywhere because the overhead cost is prohibitive. Yet, at the same time, we wanted to be able to bring, I would call it, I was going to say product, but it's not really product. We want to be able to bring the education, the information, and the physical touches with human beings out to you wherever you're at as much as possible within the realm of it being financially functional to do so, because it's very difficult. Now, when we had COVID, it shut everything down. So we had to suck everything back into the offices and put everything online. We couldn't meet with people anymore, and we lost that feeling. I didn't like it at all. But we're back to where we can touch people again. One of the ways that we were able to fix the problem a couple years back, 3 or 4 years back, we came up with this idea that although we can't have an office in every city because we have members all over the country, we can have members that facilitate small groups. And the small group learning atmosphere is something that most people like because you can ask intimate questions without feeling embarrassed about it. And you can get with someone that is more like yourself personally. So we created a part of our program called the Ambassador Program, which is our members in areas deciding that they want to give back, that they want to pull together a group. Because really, when you think about a co-op, where everybody is bringing something to the table and then you mix it all together and people take out of that co-op what they want, you really have a situation where the learning curve is massively accelerated, right? But the question is, what comes first, chicken or the egg? You know, you think about it. How do you have a co-op if you don't have any people? And it takes a people or a group of people to be able to create a co-op. So the Ambassador Program was just that. A lot of people had asked us, hey, can I start something here in my area? And we finally just said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's formalize it. And now we have ambassadors in places all over the country. Today, we're going to talk about one of the events we have coming up, which is a national event. We had an East Coast summit out in, I think it was Jacksonville, Florida, and hundreds of people showed up for that. And we have our expo once a year, which is in Dallas, and we have 4,000 or 5,000 people show up for that. Now, this week, actually on June 15th, we're going to have the Lifestyles Unlimited Midwest Summit. It's going to be held in Kansas City, Missouri. And we're going to have this on June 15th all day long. The morning section will be market updates for single family, networking on single family. We're going to have our mentors there. We're going to go over a bunch of updated information, and then we're actually going to offer properties for sale that we have listed in that area. In the afternoon, we're going to come back and do the same thing again, but this time it's going to be for multifamily. We'll have our multifamily consultants, our multifamily mentors. We'll have our passive mentors. of course, with all that, we have to have somebody to put it all together. And so we have elected our local ambassador to be involved. And she and her husband are going to speak to us today. At least she is. He's busy. He's at work. And we were very happy to bring her on. Claire May from Kansas City, Missouri. Claire, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dale. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we got a big one coming up here, and looks like the Florida thing was a big hit, so this one should be too.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, though I believe it's limited to 300 people.
That's the size of the room?
Yes.
Well, there you go. And guys, you got to get going because 300 people fills up pretty quick. I know in Houston, we fill up our room, which is supposed to be 300, but literally we squeeze 350, 400 in there sometimes. But the bottom line, it does fill up. And if you don't get there in time, it will fill up, especially something like this where it's regional. People are going to be coming in from all over the Midwest to this event.
Yes.
Let's talk for a second about you before we go on and get into the event. Let's talk about what was it that brought you to real estate? You know, start with your life and what it was that made you start searching for something different.
Well, I was married for a long time to somebody that we kind of wanted to get into real estate, but we never really did. We raised 5 children, and it was always take care of the children. What do they need? And we never were able to put money away or save or anything. That ended several years ago, and I moved to the Midwest. I moved to Missouri, and I was able to get a job, work, do my own expenses and all that, and I was able to start saving money. Well, I didn't know about Lifestyles Unlimited back then, but I have an older brother who is a member, and he's been a member for several years. And when I would visit him, when I would go back, I live in Missouri. I grew up in California, so most of my family is in California. And so when I would go back and visit, he would tell me about Lifestyles Unlimited. And I feel, looking back, I think it just kind of went in one ear and out the other because I didn't have the money to do anything. And so lately, though, I've remarried. My brother started talking to me again about it back in May of 22. And then I started really listening because I felt like I might be able to do something about this. And it was very interesting what he was telling me. And then fast forward to about September, October, and we were talking on the phone, and I had it on speaker, so my husband was there, Mark. We were all talking on the phone, and my brother was telling us about a recent deal that he had been in that sold, and he had 180% return on his investment. And at that point, Mark was like, "Let's go, let's join, let's do it." And I was like, "No, wait a minute. let me look at stuff. Let me read. I'm one of those. I'm very analytical." And so I started listening to your radio show, and I found out about the 2-day, and it was coming up in St. Louis at that time. So I signed up so I could go to the 2-day, and then at the 2-day, we joined as preferred investment group members. So that's the long and the short.
That's interesting. That's a long journey. We have Claire May out of Kansas City, Missouri, and she's on because we have a big event coming up in Kansas City, Missouri. On June 15th, we've got the Midwest Summit, Lifestyles Unlimited Midwest Summit. And I've just been informed in the last segment that there's only space for 300 people. So now you better get signed up. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get in. It will fill up very quickly. As we went to break, Claire was explaining to us that she had taken a long journey to get to Lifestyles, but she finally got here. And when you went to the 2-day, Claire, were you still skeptic at that point, or had you done enough research to get out of being a skeptic at that point?
Well, I had done enough research and listened to your radio show, and I watched some of the case studies that I could, so that I was no longer skeptical, and it made a lot of sense. Hearing the 2-day, our presenter was Chris Wyatt. He did an excellent job. It was really, really informative and answered all our questions.
So let's talk about my favorite topic, the aha moment. You're sitting there, you're listening to information coming out of a fire hose, hitting you in the face, knocking you down. But something registers, something, resonates. It hits you and goes, whoa, that's the part I didn't get. Do you remember what that was?
Well, yeah, I believe for me it was when he was talking about the different ways that people invest, either the stock market, your IRA, real estate, and the differences in the return on your investment. We both had IRAs at the time, and they were going backwards, basically. And when Chris was explaining all about the real estate and how that return on your investment is so much higher, even better than a savings account with which that might have high interest, 5% or something, that still wasn't going to get what you will get investing in real estate.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That's good. So you went through that. You saw that there's more profit there. It led me to throw in a very cheap, useless joke that I haven't used in a long time, but your 401k was turning into a 201k.
Yes.
It's going backwards.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So,
it was very frustrating watching that.
Oh, that's got to be painful. That's got to be painful. I mean, it's bad enough if it doesn't go forward, but if to go backwards, it's always the worst deal out there. Let's talk now about coming out of the 2-day. What was your plan? You and the husband sat down, made a plan. What was your plan?
The plan was to get the education for the the certified passive investor education completed and get our money deployed as quickly as we could.
Absolutely. Now, this summit, we've got Terry Gilberry going to be there. She's going to go through how to be an educated passive investor. Have you thought about that? The difference between just being a passive investor and being an educated passive investor?
I haven't really thought about it. I feel like I'm an educated passive investor. Lifestyles Unlimited has so much education available, and there's still more I want to take of that education. But so far, I've done the passive investor. I'm a certified passive investor.
Right.
I've done that education.
So the idea is that in life, a lot of times we just do things blindly. We throw money into 401k blindly, or we put money in an IRA blindly, and we just pick a few stocks, like throw, a dart at the wall, and whichever one it falls on, that's what we pick, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's not very educated. I mean, you don't have any control over that. In a passive situation in lifestyles, what we try to do is give you enough information to pick the right deal and the right person. And those are both important because the lead investor, as we call it, which is the syndicator on these deals, puts them together and manages them, operates them. We call a lead investor. They have to go through a training program and get certified here. And then the passives go through a training program, get certified, so that both of you know what you're talking about, so you can have conversations and say, what kind of a deal is this? So when you first started, what were you looking for? What was most important to you, the lead investor or the deal? Which one was swaying you the most in what you got into?
Well, for me, it was the deal. I didn't, at that point, I had not met any lead investors. And so when I got on, I joined Podium so I could look at the deals and learn about the leads and things like that. So for me, I mean, honestly, it really was the deal.
So have you been to the expo yet? You've been a member for 2 years now, 22, 24?
Yeah, we've been members for just over a year and a half. We did go to the expo in February last year.
So all of a sudden, you've never even met a lead. All of a sudden, there's 5,000 people there, and there's 250 leads set up to meet you in a mixer. What did that do to your mind? What did you think when you saw all that?
It was a little overwhelming. We were briefed by several people. Yeah, just go talk to them all. Try do this first, do that, and it was pretty overwhelming. But we did meet a lot of them, and a couple of them I'm in their deals. So I think it is important to meet the leads. I do like that aspect that that you all tell us we should meet the leads, because there was, out of all the leads, there was one I would never do a deal with that I met. So, it is important to meet the leads.
Yeah, that's interesting how you can tell stuff from their personality, huh?
Yeah, it was, quite. It was blaring with this one person. Oh, I'm like, oh no, I will never.
I'm sorry. That's so funny. I feel the same way. I meet people and I instantly, can sense something is wrong. That just this person's off.
Yeah.
According to my values, you understand? I mean, I'm not judging people in general, but according to my values, this person just isn't clicking in the same universe. They're somewhere off in another world. So you guys have gotten into 4 deals. Oh, before I go to the number of deals, what you've done the deals, let's finish this segment up with this. What did you think about the fact that people were so open about their personal finances and about the real estate deals? Did that blow your mind?
It did. I thought that was absolutely amazing. I mean, I grew up in a home that we were taught you don't talk about finances with other people.
Really is the secret to lifestyles, isn't it? The fact that you can get the truth from people. Everybody likes to put their big car and their gold Rolex in front of you and tell you that they're wealthy, but you really don't know what that means. That means they're broke. They're up to their hind end in debt, maybe, whatever. But not these people. These people are very, very conservative, yet very, very wealthy in many cases. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Claire May and the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Teaching you with a roadmap to creating the lifestyle you really want. Keep listening. The Del Walmsley Radio Show returns in moments.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa appreciates having mentors who have her back.
Having the faith to move forward, and y'all have everything provided. I could call a mentor and say, hey, I don't know what to do. Someone is always there to guide you. I have backup.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join now for $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
You're hearing the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Want more life-changing knowledge? Access our podcast and listen on demand at lifestylesunlimited.com under the radio tab. Now your host, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. With me here today is Claire May out of Kansas City, Missouri. She is an ambassador there. And the reason we're having her on today, besides the fact that she's a wonderful person, is because we have an event coming up in June 15th, it looks like, in Kansas City, Missouri, called the Lifestyles Unlimited Midwest Summit. And in the morning, we're going to do single family. In the afternoon, we're going to do multifamily. It's going to be quite educational. And you're going to want to not miss this because the networking alone would be worth it. So, Claire, let's talk about what prompted you to want to become an ambassador. Can you share that with us? You and your husband are ambassadors out there.
Yeah. So when we joined, we heard that there were ambassadors for the members, but the ambassador for Kansas City actually lives in San Diego at the time, and so we were waiting around for meetings to happen, meetups, so we can meet people and things like that. But there were not any in-person meetups. We wanted to meet people, and we wanted to learn from other people, and be around people who are like-minded. And so we were talking to a couple of the LU realtors, and they said, "Well, why don't you guys be the ambassadors?" And we're like, "What?" And so actually we started kind of kicking around the idea and decided that we should do it. And so that's what we did.
Well, I know when I first started mentoring people before Lifestyles was even a thing, I found that I got as much back from giving out as I got, as I gave out. And in the fact that the more people I touched, the more ideas, the more things, the more deals were available, the more money was available to get the deals and to do things. Do you find that it's fulfilling to be out there helping other people?
Oh, absolutely. It is fulfilling. I mean, we are meeting so many wonderful people, and learning a lot. You know, we're not challenge members, but we're PIG members. But we went on there was a LU road trip for challenge single family homes.
Yeah.
And so we went on that back in November, and we were just amazed at what we learned just from going on that road trip. And then Joe Flores was up here. He's the one who ran that trip, and we're constantly learning from other people. And I hope
Joe Flores is coming back again for this summit.
Yes,
he will be
is.
one of the single family mentors up there discussing what's going on.
Yes.
So you decided to do this. Did Steve help you figure out how to do it?
Oh, yeah. Steve has been so helpful. Yes. Kudos to Steve. He's very, very helpful to us.
Now, I'm trying to think why he did this in the first place. Does he have some deals in Kansas City? Is that why he was
Yes.
being the ambassador there?
Yes. He has properties here, and
Okay.
he's in a passive deal here as well.
Yeah, I've spent time with Steve out in California. Had a couple good dinners with him. It's always nice to see him. I see him at the expo every year. Great guy. So he got you started. Now let's talk about what you've been able to accomplish as an ambassador. What kind of meetings have you had? How many? How often? How many people? What's your goal for these meetings? And how often is your goal for these meetings?
Well, our goal is to have a meeting at least once a month. Now, we became the ambassadors in October of last year, and we had a meeting in November, and we had about 35 or 37 people show up. And we just talked to them. You know, everybody talked to each other. It was a great event. And then we didn't do one in December, and I can't remember if we missed January. We missed April, I think it was, and we had one in May. But we're having between 30 and 37 people show up every time. Now, we did one last month that had about half that many, but we're starting to get into weddings and graduations and things like that. And I'm not sure how many will show up during the summer months, but our goal is to just get people connected, talking to each other, learning from each other. You know, we direct them to the portal a lot of times. We're not mentors. That's something we're not, but we can direct you to your mentor for questions and things like that. So we have a lot of fun. We have a really terrific group of people here in Kansas City. They're just quality people. We love what we're doing.
So, I'm going to let you tell the people you know if they want to bring friends, they can bring friends.
Okay.
This information needs to get out there. People need to understand. And sometimes the best way for them to find out about something like this, in fact, I know it's the best way, is referral. It's like how you heard about it. And
Right.
if you can hear about it from someone that you trust and then you can go see it in action, then I think that what you'll find is those people are 99, 98% members. In other words, they end up joining them. Whereas if you just hear the radio show, you know, you might listen to me for 6 years before you decide to do something, right? Listen to me for 5 years, change husbands, move from one state to the next, and then finally take action. That's the way it works that way. But the referral bit's way better. So you tell your friends and all the people you know, they can bring a friend if they want. If they want to introduce somebody to Lifestyles, we'll go ahead and let them. But remember that you have to register the number of people if there's only 300 people.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
And I'll get with our staff right after this to go ahead and do that. What's your goal for you and your husband? Now that you're investing, you've got 4 deals. Do you have a goal?
Well, of course, to be real estate retired. We're in our 60s. We both are working full time still. We'd like to double our double our net worth in 5 years, like you teach, and be able to retire and travel and all that kind of good stuff. We have kids all over the place. Most of my kids and all of my grandchildren live in California still, and he has some children in Arkansas and one here in the Kansas City area. You know, I don't get to see them very often, so I want to be able to do that whenever I want to.
Wow, that's amazing. How many kids do you guys have combined?
9.
Woo!
I have 5,
is wonderful.
He has 4.
And how many grandkids has that produced?
I have 8, and he has 6.
Wow, 14
Yes.
grandkids. We've got, what do we have? We have 2 and 1 on the way. We got 1 in the bun,
Wow.
in the oven, I say.
Yeah.
Bun in the oven, however they say it. So we got 2 and 2.5. And I'll tell you what, there's just nothing brings joy to your heart when you get old more than grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
It's an
We're
amazing
very blessed.
thing. It really is. And you want to do something for them, right? You want to be able to give them, if you got that many people to give Christmas presents to, my gosh, that could
I
keep
know.
you broke.
It's challenging.
It really could. That could really keep you broke. You got to give all those kids and all those grandkids something. I think what you got a lump of coal this year, kid. I don't. We had a bad year, right?
Our goal too is to be able to leave a legacy to our children and our grandchildren, and hopefully teach them how to do this. Or I've talked about it to all my kids. So I don't know. I think they're interested, but they're raising children, and I think it's hard to find extra money to do anything with. You know what I mean?
Oh, I understand. Our kids are the same way. They're just now starting to do it. They're in their mid to late 30s, and they're just now starting. I think we've got 2 of the kids each are going to buy like 1 rent house now. They're at that point.
Yeah.
But it starts slow. But here's the thing you got to understand, Claire, is that people are living way longer than they used to. My dad died at 65. My grandfather died at 66. My great-grandfather died at 67.
Wow.
There's no Walmsleys left. I'm the last male Walmsley, right? And I have an uncle that's still alive, but he's in his 80s. But people are living much longer now. The people we know at Lifestyles, they're all in their late 60s, 70s. And I meet people, all my neighbors are in their 70s to their 80s. It's just amazing. People are living into their 80s and 90s. Many of the people I know have parents are in their 90s still around. Yeah. And so if you don't have a plan, I mean, your life could be miserable going into retirement being 70, 80 years old. You can't keep working all that time, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So, that life of quiet desperation I always talk about, which is really having a job and working and getting up and going through that and suffering and taking care of all those kids and, paying all those bills and doing all that stuff, that gives way at some point to just desperation. It's just like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for the bills when I'm living on Social Security and a few ducats are coming in off of my 5% savings account, which, by the way, I have those too. I like those. Those are nice. Don't you remember when it was like 0.3%
Yes.
So 5% is like, wow, I'm rich. My savings accounts are making money. It's wonderful. Great. Well, I want to thank you for 2 things. 1, coming on today and sharing your story with us. And number 2, being the ambassador out there and helping all these other people get together and network and enjoy life. The rest of you out there, remember this. It's not the money. It's the lifestyle. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley radio show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers. The Del Walmsley show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.